Welcome to the first ever episode of the Beeline here on the Hive O'Clock News. I'm Super B, and with me tonight is the most amazing Paul Whitehead. It's an honor to have you here.
Thank you.
I want to tell you that male bees, also known as drones, do not possess stingers, so you're perfectly safe here at the Hive. I do have a pointy nose, however. Now, on this Beeline, we'll be speaking to a man who is known for amazing album art, but he's done so much more than that. There's also sculpture, even sand mandalas.
Sand mandalas.
I want to know so much more about what you do and how you do it. I guess the first question I have to ask is, when you're brought in to do an album cover for a band, what inspires you? How do you prepare yourself for that project?
Well, it's music. So the music has to inspire the whole thing. You know. I listen to the music, I get the artists to tell me what the words are about, what the album's about, whatever the concept is. You know. It's the music. So basically I illustrate music. That's what I do.
Beautiful. And do you find that some bands will set you free and just do whatever comes to mind with that music, or do they have some sort of an agenda first?
Yeah, bit of each. But most of them let me go, you know. They trust me.
I understand you had a very close relationship with Genesis on the 3 albums that you did with them, but you also worked with Mott the Hoople and Earth, Wind and Fire. How was it working with those bands?
Different.
Much different from Genesis.
Very different. In fact, there's a very funny story with Earth, Wind and Fire. I got fired because I was too white.
What?
Yes.
How was this possible?
I got fired because I was too white. My ideas were too white.
I'd like to see some examples of this.
I can show you.
Excellent. Now, you've been living in the United States for several years. Decades?
Decades, yes.
Decades.
We won't say how many decades.
We won't say. We won't even ask. But I would like to ask you one question, and that is, now that you've lived here this many years, however many years it is, do you call biscuits cookies?
Yes.
You do.
Except when I'm in England.
Excellent.
I call them biscuits.
Of course you do. And you're familiar with the Muppet that appears on Sesame Street known as the Cookie Monster? Mm-hmm. Of course, he used to be called the Cookie Monster. I believe he's now the Vegetable Monster or something. But the question I have,
biscuit monster.
Is there a biscuit monster in England so that, no, the children don't have a biscuit monster to grow up with? That's, teach them the alphabet.
Yes.
Paul, I'd like to ask you about another of your projects. Not a visual one exclusively, but more audio. The Borg Symphony. How long have you been involved, and when did you start that Borg Symphony? And how?
I don't remember when it was. It was like 4 or 5 years ago. But it happened out of a series of accidents when musician friends would change their gear, you know, in their band.
They're going to upgrade?
They're going to upgrade their gear, and they say, hey, we're getting new stuff. Do you want this keyboard? And it was like great, you know, rolling keyboard with, you know, repeats and sequencers and everything.
You just get to have it?
Yeah, here you go.
Well, that's the right place at the right time.
I got a drum kit at one point, right? A full drum kit, but I couldn't play it because it was like too noisy. So yeah, I just learned to play around with this stuff and wrote what I thought was music, you know. Eventually I mentioned it to a couple of musicians. I said, I've got this idea for a band, you know, what kind of music would cyborgs make? And one of my friends said, wow, that's a great concept. Can I work on that with you? So it was a cross-feeding, me giving instruments to begin with, right? And then them responding to the idea, and I just sort of like took a back seat. I wrote the stuff and they performed it.
But you are the ringleader of the Borg Symphony.
Not the leader, we're a collective.
Oh, excellent. Everyone is an equal piece.
A hive mind.
The hive mind, I think I can relate to that. So there's no one leader. Everyone is assimilated into the living, breathing Borg.
The common purpose. And so I go around the world to music festivals. I go as an artist, right, to show my work and sell my work. But every festival I go to, there's always at least half a dozen, maybe 8 or 9 musicians that I know, that I've worked with or played with. So I say to them, do you want to do the Borg Symphony tonight?
That's spontaneous.
And we do.
Now, do you always have some equipment with you in anticipation of that, or do you just go on whatever they happen to have with them?
I take what I play. I play the cymbal. Actually, I have a Macintosh with all the sequences and so on, right? But I play a cymbal with a violin bow.
Oh, a symbol with a C, not a symbol with an S-Y-M-B-O-L.
C-Y-M.
C-Y-M, okay.
I play a cymbal as well.
Is it a symbol of something?
It's a symbol of Gildan.
And when you get these spontaneous gigs, how do you find the venue?
Well, no, it's a festival. There's already...
Oh, you just get right into it. You're into the
There's
program.
already maybe 15, 20 bands there over 3 days, you know.
Okay.
And I know a bunch of them. I know a lot of them from the past. And I'm there as an artist exhibiting my work, and we just get together and do it. And it's weird because they've already got their own band performance that they're doing, right? So they can't really afford the time to rehearse for the Borg Symphony. So every time we do it, it's kind of seat of our pants.
It's got to be liberating, right? To
It's
know
amazing.
that not only do you not have to, you cannot rehearse or prepare.
Right.
Go with what you feel.
Just do it.
Let the Borg take your mind.
And every time it's totally original, totally different.
Do you make a habit of recording these performances?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
And have you never done just a straight studio recording? Is it always a live?
Oh, well, it began as a studio
Okay.
recording, yeah.
Remarkable.
That was an interesting experience because when I do record covers for years and years, right, I always used to wonder to myself, what takes these guys so fucking long? How did it take 3 months to do a song? I mean, yes, just go in the studio and do it, right? Then when I did my own music, I realized how it takes so long. There's so many choices, right?
Right. So many elements, so many choices.
So many choices with music.
Does that, now that you've gained a lot of insight from both sides now of the equation.
I'm more tolerant.
All right. A final question about the Borg Symphony. Whenever I have heard mention of or seen on television shows, namely the Star Trek Borg, I always thought it sounded sort of Swedish. I am the Borg is me. Is there any sort of Swedish influence? None whatsoever. All right, you can safely assume.
That's the Bjorn board.
That's the Bjorn Borg.
It's a whole different...
Well, you might understand how I could be confused.
Yes. It's funny because I was just in Finland for Christmas, right? And there's Borg everywhere. You know, street signs, names, and stuff.
Borg.
Borg everywhere.
Yeah. And have you had a performance in the middle of all that Borg gossity?
No, what are you doing?
That does sound like it's got to
Finland
happen.
or Sweden would be great.
Yes. Now here's a question back to the album art scenario. I would say, personally, I'm a student of the 70s, that the golden age of album art probably was the 70s, certainly some 60s into 80s. And in the United States, of course, we dropped albums for CDs, even though they lived on in Europe. And now it's come back around, and the United States does release new albums on vinyl. But what do you see as the future of album art? Do you think we'll get away from discrete units like a DVD and a CD or an LP and just it'll all be downloads, and then what happens?
People will download.
You think that the next wave will be virtual reality album art?
With a virtual artist making it with a virtual bus?
Yes.
Yes.
Maybe. And you can virtually interact with the art?
You can virtually enjoy it.
I am virtually excited about
I always
that
remember,
prospect.
I got a thing a long time ago, right, in the mail, and it was like a free vacation in Las Vegas, right? But it actually said a free virtual.
Uh-oh.
No, virtually free vacation.
Virtually free.
Vacation in Las Vegas. So ever since then, I've never trusted the word virtual.
I think that's wise. The large print giveth, but the small print taketh away.
A virtually free vacation in Las Vegas.
It's probably the worst kind of Las Vegas to have. And actually what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, and of course they're talking about your money.
Yes.
Yes.
So I don't know about record covers. There won't be records in the future anyway, right?
I mean, we finally lost the disc, right? You start off with like cylinders, wax cylinders, that's round.
You know what?
LPs.
Last week I was really freaked out. A guy wrote to me from like Romania or Yugoslavia or something like that, right? And he wanted to use a piece of one of my images on a cassette, right? And I said, what? And he sent me the little thing, the template, right?
Yeah.
How it had
All cropped out the way he had in
and
mind.
he said, this is what I was thinking. I went, great. And so I sold this guy a piece of one of my images, a corner of one of my images, which he turned into cassette cover.
And that's the chunk he wanted. Remarkable.
So it's not dead yet.
Good to know. Let's try to keep it alive.
Keep art alive on the record covers, yes.
Absolutely. And the record itself. Paul Whitehead, it's been a great pleasure to speak with you.
Thank you.
And I hope to have you back again sometime here on the Beeline of the Hive O'Clock News.
Next week on the Hive O'Clock News. Join us for outtakes from Beeline interview between Super Bee and Trisha Van Cleef. Tune your antennae into our YouTube channel every Thursday at 1 p.m. And don't forget to make believe.
Buzz around, buzz around, buzz around, buzz around, keep a buzz around.